How are you today? I am really sorry for uploading this video so late today. I'm really taking into consideration that you may not be able to see it for tomorrow, but still, here's the video as I promised. And today's lesson is going to be focused on modal verbs. I hope you can enjoy it. I hope you can learn many things about modal verbs. And above all, I hope you are patient because we're going to see many modal verbs and all of them have got different aspects to consider. So again, take a deep breath, be patient, and let's get it started. So today the contents that we're going to see are 1. The features of modal verbs, and then we will see each modal verb one by one. These are can, could, may, might, would, must, should, shall, and then I will leave some links as usual. So let's start by the features, the characteristics of modal verbs. We have to know that these are not like the rest of verbs. These are special type of verbs, and the characteristics that they have in common are that first, we put an infinitive without to after most modal verbs. So, I must look for my passport. That means that the verb has to be in infinitive right after the modal verb. Or, she should go to the doctor. Rule number 2 is that modal verbs do not take the S in the third person in the present simple. As you can see in the example, it is I can speak English or he can speak English. Notice that he is third person singular but still can doesn't take the S. 3. They don't use the auxiliary verb do or does to form negatives, questions, or short answers. That is that they function as auxiliary verbs. That means that in the negative they go with not, like in she shouldn't work so hard, and in the question they are written at the beginning. Like in the example, can you drive? Yes, I can. So, having said this, why do we use modal verbs for? Well, they have different meanings depending on their context, so they add meaning to the main principal verb in the sentence. So, let's now take a look at all these modal verbs one by one, and the one which is the most basic one is can, and in fact, I know that you've seen this verb many times. So, you have to remember that can is used mainly for in three contexts. It is used to talk about ability, like Natasha can play the piano. It also can be used to talk about possibility. He can go on holidays next summer, or to speak about request. Can you bring me some water, please? The negative form of can is cannot or can't, and we normally use it to talk about prohibition. As you can see in the example, you can't swim in the lake. That's a prohibition. And now, you have to know that we can only use modals in the present. So, what if we want to speak about ability or possibility in the past or in the future? Well, we've got some alternatives. In fact, could is used for the past. Now, look at the example. It says, I could read when I was 4 years old. That's an ability in the past. And we can also make use of be able to, and in this case, we can use be able to talk about the past, the present, and the future. In the example, we make a question about the future, and it is, when will you be able to come? Having said this, we move on to the next one, which is could. And in this respect, we must know that could is used to talk about ability in the past, like in Natasha could play the piano when she was very young. Also possibility in the past, like he could travel very easily because we had a car, or in this case, a formal request. It is something that you ask another person to do for you. But it is normally used with people we don't know in formal contexts, and it is very polite. So, could I borrow your calculator, please? Now, if we want to use could, as I said before, in the past, we can use was or were able to, like in these two examples. The plane was able to take off, or luckily Mark was able to get the web finished in time. Modal verb number 3 is may. So may is used in 3 contexts. The first one is to talk about possibility, but in this case, there is little possibility that something happens. That bag may belong to Maria's friend. That's a little possibility. Also, we use it when we want to ask for permission. Like in this question, may I telephone from here? You're asking for permission there. Now, the third use of may is formal request, because you have to remember that may is very, very formal. So, look at the example. May you bring me some water, please? And last but not least, we use may as a formal offer. May you come with us tonight? And the alternatives here is be allowed to. So we use this to talk about permission in the present, the past, or the future. So for instance, we could say the passengers are allowed to take one bag onto the plane. We continue now with might, and the good news here is that it is very, very similar to may. So we use might to talk about little possibility. In fact, it's got the same meaning as may, like in that bag might belong to Maria's friend, little possibility here. Or we use it to ask for permission. Might I telephone from here? And like in the case of the modal verb may, we can use be allowed to talk about permission. So here you can find the same example we've seen before in the previous slide. Passengers are allowed to take one bag onto the plane. So we're reaching the end. There are just 4 modal verbs left, and the next one is good. You know that we use good in conditionals number 2 and 3, and you need to know that it is a modal verb. But when do we use would? It can be used in 2 contexts, which are as a formal request, would you bring me some water, please? Or as an offer, would you come with us tonight? So, only 2 different uses for good. This is one of the easiest modal verbs, as you can see. And now we move to one which is a little bit more complex. In this case, it is the modal verb must. So, when do we use must? 1. We use must to talk about a strong possibility. That is, there is a strong probability that something is going to happen, something's going to take place, like she isn't answering the phone, she must be out. That's something that is very, very likely to be happening. And we also use it to talk about obligation or necessity. Now, take a look at the example. It says, you must exercise, the doctor said. So the doctor said that it is necessary for one person to exercise. And in the case of mustn't, we use it for prohibition. It is the same use as in can't. So one example for that could be bicycles mustn't be left here. And we need to know the alternatives for must and. In the affirmative, we've got have to or need to. They're very, very similar, and they are used to express obligation or necessity. So that'd be I have to exercise, the doctor said, on the one hand. And on the other hand, you need to know that when we write needn't or don't have to, that means that there is no obligation or necessity for something to take place. That is, lack of obligation or necessity. Like in, I don't have to work on Sundays. That means that it isn't necessary for me to work on Sundays. Well, number 7 is should, and should only has one use. It is used to talk about advice. It's very cold, the children should wear their coats. Only one use. This is one of the easy modals. And you also need to know that there's one alternative, well, 2 alternatives in fact. One is have to, which is not very common. You won't find this in real contexts, not as much as should. And the example with have to, it is, it's very cold, the children have to wear their coats. And one alternative for have to is had better. Like in, it's very cold, the children had better wear their coats. And to finish, finally we reached the end. We've got the last modal verbs, and this is one that you may not have seen before, but it's very, very easy. It is the modal verb shall, and the good news here is that it's just used to talk about offers or suggestions. As you can see in the example, it's a lovely day. Shall we go for a walk? And the theory is finished, and now it's time for you to watch the video again. Yes, you have to rewatch it this time, because I know that all the contents are very dense. There's a lot of information, many things that you need to remember. And in fact, I believe that modal verbs are one of the most complicated parts of English, because they can express so many meanings and they're used in different ways. So it's very, very important for you to take a look at all of the theory I have already shown you. And of course, once you know that, I totally encourage you to visit all of these 4 links. These activities are global. You can find all the modal verbs mixed, but I especially recommend that you go to link number 2, the one of perfectenglishgrammar.com, because there you will find all the modal verbs classified into the meanings that they express, like ability, permission, possibility, obligation, and so on. So that's going to make it easier for you to practice. Having said that, I say bye to you with one of my pictures from one of my trips. This was from one of my visits to London when I was working there as a Spanish language assistant a long time ago in 2013. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for being patient. Again, sorry for uploading the video so late, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye!